Module number 3, Happiness. Happiness and learning. What is happiness? If you were to ask 100 different people what happiness is, you'd probably get that many different answers. We know it when we experience it. It's an adjective meaning feeling or showing pleasure or contentment, as in Melissa came in looking happy and excited. With a clause, you might say, we're just happy that he's still alive. And with an infinitive, it sounds like they are happy to see me doing well. According to the Oxford Dictionary, it's the feeling of being pleased or content. Cultivating happiness. During our time together, we'll be practicing happiness. It's one thing to learn and think about it. It's another to establish habits that cultivate happiness. The better we get to know ourselves, the more we'll understand what makes us truly happy. A few weeks ago, we looked at our values and set some goals. By aligning our decisions and actions to our values, we've already practiced happiness-forming actions. Happiness is an essential element of health. Nature is good for our happiness. Science proves that being in nature will increase our happiness and well-being. The interesting part of the study is that you don't have to be totally immersed in nature to respond to it. It can be a houseplant, birds, or sunlight through the window. Are you happy? Take the test. Can happiness be measured? Well, the Oxford Happiness Questionnaire attempts to do just that. It's one of several measures of subjective well-being, that is, happiness, constructed by scientific research psychologists. Here's the link. It may be helpful in charting your own sense of happiness. When you pay attention to something and measure it, you're more likely to find ways to improve it and to know whether those methods really work. You might try the assessment several times over some extended period. Take the questionnaire now and return at a later date to take it again, comparing scores. Perhaps after trying some exercises to increase your happiness. There are just 29 questions, so it won't take long. Please read the statements carefully because some are phrased positively and others negatively. Don't take too long over any individual question because there are no right or wrong answers and there are no tricks. The first answer that comes into your head is probably the right one for you. If you find some of the questions difficult, give the answer that is true for you in general or most of the time. After you take the test, you'll be scored. This might be your score. 1 to 2 means not happy. You may be seeing yourself and your situation as worse than it really is, and your gratitude journal is an important tool. Not really happy or unhappy, exercises to increase your happiness can be effective. And 5 to 6 is very happy. 5 is good. Your happiness is associated with advantages in health, relationship, and goals. And 6 may be too happy and has the opposite associations. Money happiness. You overestimate how much pleasure you'll get from having more. Humans are adaptable creatures, which has been a plus during assorted ice ages, plagues, and wars. But that's also why you're never all that satisfied for long when good fortune comes your way. While earning more makes you happy in the short term, you quickly adjust to your new wealth and everything it buys you. Even though stuff seldom brings you the satisfaction you expect, you keep returning to the mall and the car dealership in search of more. When you imagine how much you're going to enjoy a Porsche, what you're imagining is the day you get it, says Gilbert. When your new car loses its ability to make your heart go pitter-patter, he says, you tend to draw the wrong conclusion. Instead of questioning the notion that you can buy happiness on the car lot, you begin to question your choice of car. So you pin your hopes on a new BMW, only to be disappointed again. More money can also lead to more stress. The big salary you pull in from your high-paying job may not buy you much in the way of happiness, but it can buy you a spacious house in the suburbs. The trouble is that also means a longer trip to and from work, and study after study confirms what you sense daily. Even if you love your job, The little slice of everyday hell you call the commute can wear you down. You can adjust to most anything, but a stop-and-go drive or an overstuffed subway car will make you unhappy, whether it's the first day on the job or your last. Making money work for you. Happiness scholars have found that how you stand relative to others makes a much bigger difference in your sense of well-being than how much you make in an absolute sense. Your penchant for comparing yourself with the guy next door, like your tendency to grow bored with the things that you acquire, seems to be deeply rooted as a human trait. We can step off the treadmill to more. The question is, how do you do that? If you want to know how to use the money you have to become happier, you need to understand just what it is that brings you happiness in the first place. And that's where the newest happiness research comes in. One secret of happiness is people. Innumerable studies suggest that having friends matters a great deal. Compared with the happiness-increasing powers of human connection, the power of money is feeble. So throw a party. Set up a regular lunch date. Whatever it takes to invest in your friendships. People in happy, stable, committed relationships tend to be far happier than those who aren't. Divorce brings misery to everyone involved, though those who stick it out in a terrible marriage are the unhappiest of all. Studies of kids and happiness have come up with a little more than a mess of conflicting data. When you take moment-by-moment readouts of how people feel when they're taking care of kids, they actually aren't very happy, notes Cornell University psychologist Tom Gilovich. But if you ask them, they say that having kids is one of the most enjoyable things that they do with their lives. Doing things can bring us more joy than having things. Our preoccupation with stuff obscures an important truth. The things that don't last create the most lasting happiness. One reason may be that experiences tend to blossom as you recall them, not diminish. In your memory, you're free to embellish and elaborate. Your trip to Mexico may have been an endless parade of hassles punctuated by a few exquisite moments. But looking back on it, your brain can edit out the surly cab drivers, remembering only the glorious sunsets. So next time you think that arranging a vacation is more trouble than it's worth, or a cost you'd rather not shoulder, factor in the delayed impact. Of course, a lot of what you spend money on could be considered a thing, an experience, or a bit of both. A book that sits unread on a bookshelf is a thing. A book you plunge into with gusto, savoring every plot twist, is an experience. People define what is and isn't an experience differently, and maybe that's the key. People who are happiest are those who are best at wringing experiences out of everything they spend money on, whether it's dancing lessons or hiking boots. Applying yourself to something hard makes you happy. We are addicted to challenges, and we're often far happier while working toward a goal than after we reach it. Challenges help you attain what psychologist Mihaly calls a state of flow, total absorption in something that stretches you to the limits of your abilities, mental or physical. Buy the $1,000 golf clubs. Pay for the $50 an hour music lesson. Working for happiness. You can work to be happy. The satisfaction you get in the end is much greater than you can get from more passive pursuits. If you ask someone if watching TV makes them happy, most say yes. The people who watch a lot of TV are less happy than those who don't. Passive pleasures may relax you faster, but a more active lifestyle creates greater happiness. You need to find activities that help you get into the state of flow. You can find flow at work if you have a job that interests and challenges you, and that gives you ample control over your daily assignments. Research suggests that workers would be happy to forego as much as a 20% raise if it meant having a job with more variety. Not long ago, most researchers thought you had a happiness set point that you are largely stuck with for life. One paper said that trying to be happier may be as futile as trying to be taller. The author of those words has since recanted them. and experts are increasingly common and coming to view happiness as a talent, not an inborn trait. Exceptionally happy people seem to have a set of skills, ones that you too can learn. Happy people don't waste time dwelling on unpleasant things. They tend to interpret ambiguous events in a positive way, and perhaps most tellingly, they aren't bothered by the successes of others. That's not the only way to get yourself to spend less and appreciate what you have more. Try counting your blessings, literally. In a series of studies, psychologist Richard Emmons of the University of California, Davis, and Michael McCullough of the University of Miami found that those who did exercises to cultivate feelings of gratitude, such as keeping weekly journals, ended up feeling happier, healthier, more energetic, and more optimistic than those who didn't. If you can't change how you think, you can at least learn to resist. The act of shopping unleashes primal hunter-gatherer urges. When you're in that hot state, you tend to be an extremely poor judge of what you'll think of a product when you cool down later. Before giving into your lust, give yourself a timeout. Over the next month, keep track of how many times you tell yourself, "I wish I had a camera." If in the course of your life you almost never find yourself wanting a camera, forget about it and move on happily. Happiness steps to boost happiness. There are effective ways to boost your happiness. Working toward being happy is a worthwhile pursuit and time well spent on an ongoing basis. Here are some. Health. Attend to your health to experience life as fully as possible. Gratitude. Gratitude shifts people away from bitterness and despair and promotes happiness. Forgiveness reduces the power of bad events to create bitterness. Holding a grudge and nursing grievances can affect physical as well as mental health, according to a rapidly growing body of research. One way to curtail these kinds of feelings is to foster forgiveness. Identify and counteract negative thoughts and feelings. We control our happiness. The strategies listed help to be happy. The number one thing you can do to ensure happiness is to take responsibility for your happiness. As soon as you change your thoughts, you truly are changing your world. Zig Ziglar said, "People are basically the same the world over. Everybody wants the same things: to be happy, to be healthy, to be at least reasonably prosperous, and to be secure. They want friends, peace of mind, good family relationships, and hope that tomorrow is going to be even better than today." Additional steps. Foster friendships. There are few better antidotes to unhappiness than close friendships with people you care about and who care about you, says David G. Myers, author of The Pursuit of Happiness. One Australian study found that people over 70 who had the strongest network of friends lived much longer. A quote from David G. Myers, "Sadly, our increasing individualistic society suffers from impoverished social connections, which some psychologists believe is a cause of today's epidemic levels of depression. The social ties that bind also provide support in difficult times." Engage in meaningful activities. Practice mindfulness. When you focus on the moment, you're alive and aware. It's hard to be anxious if you're present in the moment instead of projecting into the future. Spend time in nature and be mindful of the experience. Get exercise and release endorphins for happiness. Laugh. Laughter physically and mentally increases health and happiness. Live according to your values. Seek the good in every person and situation, and help others. There is nothing that can make you feel more satisfied than doing good things for other people without expectation of reciprocation.